Thank you for being here, and I want to look at two goals for the time that we have here. One is to show you what I do in class that relates to blogging, and the other goal is to have maybe a short conversation about how we can maybe improve what I consider my blogging guidelines that I use for my class, and perhaps you have some ideas about that, or maybe willing to share something that you do. So what I do, part one, is that I teach 3 100% online biology classes, and I use Blackboard as my learning management system, because I really like Blackboard for a lot of things. I like the gradebook, I like to access my students' email that way, I post quizzes, I use discussion board, I use announcements, and I post my weekly work in folders so students can access it easily. So it's a protected site in some ways, but I find that it's a little bit limited. And so I also require blogging for major assignments in each unit. So basically I package my material into unit folders, and each folder includes about 4 weeks of material. So I open each unit up all on the same day, or on one particular day, and so the students actually have 4 weeks of work that they can play around with. They can work ahead, or they can just go through each week systematically if they want to. I find that the working ahead part really works well for students who are motivated. They can get ahead pretty quickly with the assignments. So I do assign these, the blogging function for what are called unit compilations, and my unit compilations are I like to describe them as being a la Larry Froelich. He guided me through this and gave me some good ideas because I was really unhappy about how I was assessing my online students. I was trying to give multiple choice, matching, short essay exams, and it was horrible. I got information copied out of the textbook, and it was like just regurgitation. And I just really wasn't happy with it at all. So I looked at Larry's work, and I saw that it was kind of formidable at first, but I decided that I would give it a try, and I ended up modifying what he did. And so now what I ask my students to do is produce an integrated, detailed summary of what was covered in a particular unit that's presented in their own words and organized in a way that makes sense to the student. So the student looks at these 4 chapters, makes the connections that are important to them, can move the information around in those chapters in a way that they see fit. Maybe they think about the world a little bit differently than what the textbook outlines. And in addition, they add their media, images. I ask them to pull in one outside source. And they produce this really beautiful, many times, blog, which is very creative and colorful and seems to be a highlight for many of them. I've had students tell me that they really like doing these unit compilations, that they give them freedom, allow them to be creative. They feel like they've really handled the information. And I really do require that they go through every, what I call, key element of the chapter. So it includes, in the most simplest form, it would include, for instance, taking the section headings and describing in general the beginning of the section of information, and then adding under that subtopics. So for every subtopic in the chapter, for example, they might have 2 or 3 paragraphs that hits on the high points, goes into detail in ways that they maybe see fit. So they might choose to have some detail on something that's interesting to them and maybe gloss something else over, but that's fine. And the other thing I do are lab projects. These lab projects are a hands-on active experiment or some kind of a creative project. And they involve some kind of a real-world activity and digital photographs of their activities as they go through. For instance, this week they're doing a chicken leg dissection, and I'm asking them to document that with digital photographs step by step. And they also are asked to answer some questions that go along with that, connecting the information to the text on muscle and the skeletal system. So they also are going to have some kind of an analysis some sort. They have to tell me why what they were doing was important and so forth. So these are the 2 major value-heavy types of assignments that my students have. And they do a unit compilation and a lab project for every unit. And this is where their blogging shows up. I used to require also on their blogs that they included a profile telling me something about themselves. I found that that was not, I didn't feel comfortable with that after a period of time. I found that students, first of all, wouldn't give me a profile because they were careful about sharing information, and they were probably smarter than I was. That I just felt funny about them not maybe understanding the implications of what they were doing. And something that came up last week in a discussion with Sheila Jarrell about FERPA really kind of brought that home to me, because I realized that, in her words, she said that students at Yavapai College trust us to know what is the best thing for them. And if we ask them to do something, then they're assuming that we are keeping them safe. So that has become a big thing on my mind lately. So I'm not asking for the profile through the blog. I think, though, in the future I'm going to ask for a profile probably through Blackboard in a kind of a more sheltered environment, so I can actually get to know them a little bit more without their putting themselves out there for everybody to see. Okay, so I organize my classes like this because, again, I do like Blackboard in a lot of ways, but I like blogging also because it offers students a lot of opportunity to be creative, to take pride in their work based on the idea that somebody might look at it that's outside of the classroom. They have practice sort of with their, their persona, what choices will I make, presenting, my information to the public this way. They can see each other's work as examples for a particular assignment. If someone wants to hang back and wait a while, and hopefully not 11 o'clock the night before the assignments due, but hang out for a while and kind of see what other people are doing. They can use that as a guide, and it takes some of the confusion away from if they're not understanding an assignment very well. And I find personally that the compilations and lab projects really help me to assess students' learning. It really is, as a product I can look at and I can see more than I could from another type of assessment that I maybe had tried in the past. This is just a screenshot of one of my courses. This is one of my environmental biology courses. And so I have my regular Blackboard shell, and then in my various links on the left side here, there's something called Unit Compilation Lab Project Blog. And so the students go through that link to access my website on which they will be contributing their blogs. So next screenshot, I'll show you then how that looks. So it's just part of the course, really, for them, the way it looks anyway. And then if they were to click on that link, then they get to this WordPress site, which is what I use then to gather the students' blogs onto a blog roll. So I have...
Go there now?
I'm fine for now. I think I might come in at a different angle on that. So anyway, you can see that the top part of the blog roll here, and it's my blue team for my environmental class, because I have two sections, and so I call them my blue team and my yellow team. And each one of these names then is a link, so I can go to that link and pop open their blog. Okay, so.
Is this WordPress available to the public, or is it just available to the students in that class?
It's available to the public. It is available to the public. So that's kind of where we want the discussion to kind of go here this afternoon. And so one of the elements of that is that their work is public. So what works and doesn't work for this system concerning privacy and otherwise is that students can really showcase their beautiful work. It's there, it's lovely, many things. I want to show you a couple of examples in just a minute. Really, really nice work. And as with any other type of class, some people are just gonna put everything into it, and some people aren't. And so what I do is I provide a very detailed rubric so that students, when they're working, they can just about pick the grade that they want. They can do a basic compilation that includes a certain set of elements, and for a C, grade, but they can embellish that and they can work themselves up to a higher score if they feel like they want to put the time in for that. And most students actually do stay anonymous. They don't put a profile up. That just kind of happened on its own. And the students do like the lab projects. They really get a kick out of doing the documentation of their work and so forth, and they can involve their families and friends in that project, and other people can see them. But the profile then is kind of something that, again, we kind of got stuck on, and we're kind of half and half in that regard, which is a little bit awkward. So what doesn't work is that sometimes I wonder if the blogging really does make a difference with these students. Is it really having them do better work? Are they really putting more into it because it's a blog and it's maybe more fun somehow? Most students do stay anonymous, but as you notice, I'm going to go the other way, I'm sorry. Here, their name is here on my WordPress site, which is public. Okay?
Their first name.
Their first name, yeah. Mm-hmm.
So do they go in and set up their blog and then give you the link and then you put them in, or do you set them up for them?
They set them up and give the link to me.
Okay.
Yeah. And Todd, would you help me with this link just for a sec?
Do you want to go to your website?
I would like to go just to my website, yeah, that'd be great.
So you require each of them to have their own blog, and
Yes.
then you're linked to that. Okay.
Right,
Okay.
and some of them, some people already have their own blogs. One of the things that's happening with me is they say, oh, can I use my blog for English 101? Oh yeah, that's great, go ahead and do that. So when I look for their information on the blog for my biology class, I will see their English work,
Oh.
okay? Now that's another thing that came up with Sheila the other day, is that students' work is part of their record, their official record. So
Wow.
I'm-
How are you doing that?
I'm trying to figure this all out as we go. It's very interesting. You're going to say something in a minute, I know.
I would just like to talk, you made a comment on that last slide
Uh-huh.
about the
Mhm.
word beautiful or pretty or something
Uh-huh.
was in there, or maybe I just thought it was. But I coming from the K-12 environment, the ownership of stuff. I mean, I look at this room and I think, what teacher owns this space, or who's invested in this space? And it's very challenging in community college level, because teachers teach in different rooms all the time. So they can't own it, so it remains bare like this. And while on one hand I would say, fine, less is more, on the other hand, there's an unbelievable amount of just nothingness in a lot of classrooms. Some are really beautiful, and teachers put up posters and they tack them to the wall with thumbtacks. But one of the things that blogs do is it creates a concept that students are able to change and make beautiful the space they own.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
And
definitely.
I think that while it doesn't really get higher grades on the test, it does create something called investment and motivation and sense of place, which, quite honestly, I'd prefer to work with somebody who had those qualities over, like, the wisdom or tricky math.
And Joanne, do you ever get any students that just say, well, why can't we just do this through Facebook or whatever?
No, I never have had that. I usually have a handful of students who are really seem to be all thumbs, so to speak, when they're setting up their blogs, and then they work it out by about the third or fourth week. They're rolling. They're really, one thing the students have trouble with is adding photos to their blogs. They seem to be stuck on that. So I made some Jing videos and recorded the process for adding photos. Some students looked at the videos and some didn't, and it's kind of choppy, but all in all, pretty good.
But where are their blogs existing? Are they on Blogspot? I mean, then the Jing would be specific to that type of blog, right?
Well, let me show you what. So the process here is that I've asked everyone to create a blog, and I suggested EduBlogger, EduBlogs, Blogger, or WordPress, just because those are ones I was familiar with. And so I actually, on my blog here, which is a WordPress site, I gave them information. And so I have, as they were getting set up, I have reminders. I have links to adding images in WordPress, adding images in Blogger or Blogspot. And I think that when I first started out, I gave them, sorry for all the going dizzy here, I started out with giving them directions to actually start their blog. And getting started with EduBlogger, WordPress, and Blogger. So they could go to those sites, and this is like the tutorial site for them to get started. So they would,
Can you click on the blogging getting started at the top of that?
Right here?
Yeah, that'll make everybody who's going to collaborate go to that.
okay, yeah. So this is how they would get started, and then I asked them to send me their blog link through the wiki in Blackboard. So that was pretty easy, because the wiki in Blackboard is available, and they would add their link there, and then I took it from there and added it to my blog roll. So every time, after, I'm thinking about this a lot, every step now I'm thinking, is there some sort of a weak link there? Every step with sharing to Blackboard, and then taking that from Blackboard and putting on my blog roll. And is there some kind of a privacy issue there? That's kind of where my head is lately. I don't know. Maybe that's what we have to save a few minutes to talk about. But can I show you one of the blogs that my students has? I'm going to pick this one right here. And I think it'll open for us, won't it? So this is one of my students, and this is her second compilation here. And this is what she put together as a compilation of this particular unit, which involved environmental biology topics like forests, biodiversity, descriptions of grasslands, ranching, grazing, how lands are protected, national parks, wilderness areas, and so forth. Did a really, really nice job. Really proud of what she did. So I'm hoping that I can get out of here now. I'm going to go to her. I'm going to show you her resources project then. Here's our natural resources project. We use Google Earth, which was a component of the textbook website. So I gave them an assignment from Google Earth, and then they posted here. So this is really pretty nice. I mean, it's something that somebody would like to see, that they could learn something from. It's about mountaintop removal. So I'm proud of that. Okay. So in thinking about the blogging, then I went to a couple of places and did some research. And one place I found was randomly kind of Googling blogging guidelines. I found the International School of Bangkok, which apparently is pretty hot for introducing blogging early in their curriculum. They do they go elementary, middle school, and high school at this particular school. And this is what they said on their site. I thought it was really cool. This was, they were describing the process. And can I go back to my PDF now, if I just click down here?
Not for the people in Collaborate.
Okay.
Hold on one second.
All right. So I'll just read this to you. It says, only 1 month into the new school year, and almost every middle school student has their own blog hosted at International School of Bangkok. Thanks to our fantastic middle school humanities and modern language teachers who spent their class time helping students create their own blog, and we are often running in record time. In fact, the process was so easy that almost all of our students had their blogs set up before we formalized our student blogging guidelines. So they're making it sound like it's just this easy, snap of the fingers thing. So it says, blah, blah, blah. It said they took a look at their blogging guidelines from the year before, and they tweaked them, and they have produced then a list of blogging guidelines that they have now published for all of their students to use. So if I'm lucky, what I'll do is show you those. And so what I'm concerned about here is that what's visible on the blogs, what should be visible, what shouldn't be visible. Do students know what they're doing? Do they understand? Even though you maybe offer them a list of guidelines, do they really understand what it is? So if they say, oh, this is great, I'm going to do a lab project, and I'm going to have my little daughter help me dissect this chicken leg, and I'm going to take pictures of her dissecting the chicken leg, well, then it's going to be on a public blog. How do we help students understand what's going on with that? Okay. So what I want to do is go to this link now. Can I do that? And this link is showing what are called top student blogs through this University of Bangkok. And I thought it was very interesting because not everybody has concerns like you and I might have concerns about this.
Question, maybe you can answer that. When you're talking about this, And you just made a mention that, like, especially in college, these blogs that you're now grading them on are part of their student work. But they have nothing, no actual connection to the college. So if you know, you were saying, how can you keep that as a history of what their work was, of what you're grading them on? How does that work? Does that create a problem down the road?
Well, I'm not sure. When I evaluate their work, I keep, you know, really strict grading notes on what they do, but you know, the links can come and go as they
That's their
choose.
work,
For
yeah.
sure, yeah.
And do you keep the links from the previous classes on that same
I
website?
have well, not from semester to semester on my website, but I keep them I have a wiki that shows them, so I have access to them if I want to use them again,
Okay.
or access them again. So it's interesting different layers of thought here with the way things work. I'm going to just click on here really quickly and just give you an example, and then I want to ask you what you think about some of this. For instance, let's go to this guy. So this is, you know, kind of like my blog roll, right? And here, this looks like it maybe is a, you know, 4th or 5th grade student. You know, it's pretty nice, but you know, there's kind of personal stuff in there. There's even like a full name up at the, you know. I mean, I don't know. This is a question that I have about how does it work? But these are young students, you know, at a school in Bangkok, and you know, he gives his awards and all kinds of things like that. So.
Yeah, so he has his full name in there. So
Yeah. So I'm looking for ideas about how I can feel comfortable with what I'm doing and just have a good time and know that students are protected at the same time. So Todd, that's it for that, but I'd like to go to my PDF one more time, if you don't mind. Okay. So with that then, I pulled up these guidelines, and the International School of Bangkok, I'm sorry, they're most of what they use as guidelines after they did this big process that they did, don't address a lot of things that maybe would be important. But they do say to their students, only post things you would want everyone to know, do not share personal information, think before you post, know who you're communicating with, and consider your audience. The rest of these guidelines don't apply to privacy. That's why I kind of just grade them out. So
I wonder if the teachers are actually looking at before, or you know, they talk about it before they actually post it.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Here's another site called Edudemic, and this is some sort of a educational technology group. And they have these are their blogging guidelines. Say choose a platform, set the guidelines, put safety first, make sure students know how to not share personal information. That's all that they say. And then I have a set of guidelines that I have modified from Laura Klein and Suki Waldenberger's classes that they shared with me. There's 15 guidelines here that they may still use, that I use in my blogging, that goes into quite a lot of detail about what to do and what not to do. And so with that, I have been thinking about Sheila again, and she says, well, you know, students give us information about themselves because they trust us. They assume that the student has asked us, YC assumes the student has asked us to protect them. You know, they're here and we're protecting them. And that the coursework is a part of a student's record. So the question is, and we're going to be out of time in a couple minutes, the question is, what do we come up with all of this? It's, you know, it seems like what a lot of us are doing at this institution is quite a lot more stringent maybe than what at least is published as guidelines from other places. And you know, is this something that, Todd has a lot to say, I know, but I just don't know. I want to feel comfortable with what I'm doing and just relax and have some fun. So what do you think, Todd?
I would say if we're looking for leadership in the world of the internet from higher education, we're looking in the wrong place, number one. Truly. It's just, you know, those blogs were written by young kids, and if you look at what people are doing on the public web and Facebook and other spaces, it's just like the private industry in education. You know, they're always stereotypes true for a reason. You know, they're out there in front. So it's a real challenge. I think exactly what you're doing is absolutely perfect, and the people in this room. You know, I think that we need to be fair and respectful and honest with them and say, it's on the open internet. It's out there for anybody to see and use, and just share, and those guidelines are totally awesome. We just talked in Tells for an hour about this morning, and I think it's something that needs to be addressed. How we address it, I'm not sure, but this is a fantastic start for people like you who are worried and wondered about these things. I think that's a really valuable place to start, and that's where we are here today.
Right, right.
Hey, Todd, there's a what is it, Talk of the Nation today on NPR is about this exact thing on social media, Facebook, and student information on Facebook.
Good. How many people in here actually use, I'm sorry, did you have a question?
I was going to say, one of the things that you said was, it's something that you've got to feel comfortable with. And I think
Right.
that's kind of where you start, because every instructor is going to probably have a different comfort level, and they can pass that along to their students, and then allow the students to sort of let you know what their comfort level is too.
Right.
Because some are fine putting anything and everything out there.
Yeah,
They don't
yeah.
care.
Right.
But there are others who look at it and say, I don't want to do a profile, or I don't, these other things. And as long as we're willing to say, okay, that's okay, because that's your comfort level, and here's my comfort level, and then, as long as there's some happy medium between those two things, I don't think there is a one size that fits all. I think it's really dependent upon not only the teacher, but the students as well.
I would say that just like a teacher's comfort level with putting it out there and doing what Joanna's doing, students are, role modeling behaviors is like the ultimate way to teach, right? So if you role model anxiety and fear and uncertainty about this space, or lack of using the thing called the internet, that's what you're role modeling to your students too. So,
It's true.
and that's
yeah.
what they'll get from you.
Yeah.
Does anybody else use blogs in here? Besides a little bit, yeah. I think that's really valuable, and I really love to see students kind of blossom in that media. So I guess what I would ask then, if maybe if anybody would be interested, first of all, to see the guidelines, I'd be happy to share those with you, the ones that I use. And then maybe as you move ahead and use more blogging or even other things where people, sharing a picture of their face, or I don't know, it's very interesting. Maybe add your thoughts to that, and we'll make it in more detail as time goes on.
Todd and I had talked about almost a standard thing of everyone putting that on their syllabus, that things you engage in this class may be put on the internet. If you have a problem with that, arrange it with me so that we can make you safely anonymous if you need to have that.
Very good, yeah, very good.
And if everyone got in the habit of doing that, it would be easier.
Right. So people could just relax a little bit more. Not that people aren't relaxed, but those people who are a little anxious their minds could be set at ease.
I just thought of the cell phone policy, which if you copy and paste it out of, essentially we're still telling people to turn off the cell phone, when the truth is you can turn off the ringer but still have access to the internet, but the message we're selling is like, don't use it, keep it in your purse or your pocket, and so I wonder how our message is seen in these spaces, and I don't know.
Yep, so we're out of time, but
Well, maybe we need to develop a little cloud policy as well as a cell phone policy, something they could just cut and paste. But I like the idea on the syllabus of putting that out there that, we can make you anonymous to be at your comfort level. That's a great idea.
because a lot of people have syllabus agreements, so that you would be asking your
Right.
students to agree that they read that
Right.
and they know it. So, by the way, there at the Winter Institute, Spring Institute, there should be a roundtable on blogging guidelines. I think we're going to see if we can get that stuck in. So,
Right.
Larry?
There's no way that you can make the blogs where people have to sign in with a username,
You can. Yeah, you can do that.
and is
But
that why?
That's another thing, but then it's not, we're still kind of sort of restricted, I think. We're kind of contained in a closer space that doesn't have that element of really doing your best because somebody else might see it besides.
Well, if the classmates can see it, to me, that's a lot of
Yeah, I
pressure.
thought WordPress had a scenario where you could just restrict it to the classmates.
You can, you
Okay.
can.
But, yeah.
But I didn't do it that way.
Yeah.
Well, you want it to be a living, breathing thing that could theoretically live on after the class.
That's true, yeah,
Okay.
yeah, that's true. So anyway,
Okay.
thanks
Thank
very
you.
much.